what's good everyone, Momo here. I'm sorry for the late update on the balance changes for Devil Jin, but I kind of fell ill and did not want to make doing any updates in this game a priority of mine, so I feel better now, so let's get right into it. So the very first thing, and what I can tell you already, is this character only really got nerfed. The first thing they nerfed was this down forward 1-2 knockdown. I think this down forward 1-2 knockdown before the nerfs was insanely good because it would wall split from like this range. So like from here you will still get a wall split. And it was also very reliable in side wall splitting, which is no longer the case since it now has the same knockdown as back 1-2. So you get the slight knockdown instead. So as you can see here, you're just slightly off the wall. You no longer get a wall split. So his down forward 1-2 went from being his most reliable wall splitting tool to being one of his most unreliable wall splitting tools, which is a shame because I liked his down forward 1-2 the way it was before. The reason they nerfed it apparently is because you could get Morning Crow Oki going very easily after the knockdown, since if they side roll you could get a Morning Crow free spike into back 4, which they probably deemed as too strong, and if they just woke up backwards you would get a Morning Crow 1 guaranteed on block. So yeah, that's no longer a thing. You now get the slight knockdown, same as back 1-2, which is a horrible knockdown in my opinion. Bigger nerf than I think people deem it to be, but whatever. Then Morning Crow 1+2 is now 0 on hit, which is pretty whatever. I barely saw anyone press into this anyway, and you couldn't really make any use of the plus frames to begin with unless you were at the wall. But there's no reason, honestly, to use this move. You use it like once to make people duck and that's it. The only time you really use this move is when you try to kill someone when they're at like 12 HP. And you get an up for 1 on block. But other than that, you don't really use Morning Crow 1+2 like that. It's too risky. So that's whatever. And then the biggest nerf to this character, which is probably the biggest nerf among any balance update so far, for Devil Jin at least, is... So this is now +5 on block. At the wall it used to be +24, then they removed the wall stun, so it was only +17 on block. And now they finally changed it to only be +5 on block. Basically means you can't really mix them up for free anymore after Atomic 1+2 on block. And I think this change on its own would have been fine if it were only for this, but another thing they changed was that your Atomic 1+2 fully charged doesn't track at all anymore, so they can just, if they just tech roll, your Atomic 1+2 pretty much becomes useless. As you can see here, this will never track side rolls or tech rolls. This is pretty much just a... Well, it's a worse move than this, honestly. Same startup, but worse reward. There's no reason for anyone to get hit by this anymore, honestly. This move is just non-functional now. It's like, let's say you're kind of angled, right? You're kind of angled like this. And you try to get some Oki going with this. The only thing you can really do now is try to land a Atomic 1+2 on block like this. So you get the 10 chip damage and the +5, but you're away from the wall, so you're not really gonna get any pressure going anymore. Before the nerfs, you could at least get an up forward 1 from range and like a 4-4-4 or a bar running free from the +17. Even if they were away from the wall with +5, there's not really much you can do anymore. So yeah, the tracking on the full charge is completely gone. Do not go for the full charge ever, it's completely useless. The only thing that's still somewhat useful is the half charge. But even that, I'll be very careful in using because, you know, those +5, they're not as reliable as the frames we had before, obviously. Yeah. You can still use it on wake up, they can't really sidewalk it on wake up for free. Unless they're so angled at the wall where it wouldn't track to begin with, which is a rare case, but half charge is still somewhat usable. Just keep in mind you're not S+ anymore. But the full charge is completely useless. So yeah, those are pretty much the balance changes on Devil Jin so far. Honestly, a bummer, because Stomach 1+2 used to be like his most broken tool easily, and it made playing the character somewhat easier in a game full of gorillas, pretty much. But honestly, if it means that every other character is gonna get nerfed to the same degree, then this is probably a change for the greater good. So like, let's say every other character gets one or multiple of their most broken tools nerfed to the degree where it becomes unusable like this. I'm very willing to take this sacrifice into account to, you know, play a healthier game in the end. It's just a shame that they targeted mostly the Mishimas first with these kinds of changes. There's not a lot of characters from what I've seen that took as big of a hit like this. But yeah. I have no clue where this puts him on the tier list. I do not really play this game as much as of late. I played ranked like once in the span of the last month. Maybe I'll play some more when the game becomes a bit more healthy, balancing-wise. But when it comes to Devil Jin specifically, I don't think like Dominic Monsters 2 nerf is very detrimental. So like I do think the character takes a big hit from this, but you're still left with like the strongest heat engager mix-up in the game with this, and the voicing 2 option and the Morning Crow and Heat is still pretty fucking stupid. So I think you'll be fine until the next balance patch. You just have to actually think about what you want to do with your Volo key now. You can no longer just go for the brain that Dominic 1+2 key and a guaranteed mix-up after. But yeah. Character takes a huge hit, but I think he will still be fine. I have no clue what the tier lists are looking like in the season anyway, so you'll be fine for the time being. Momo out. Hope you enjoyed the balance update. Peace, see you soon.